Welcome back to Beyond the Battlefield. Today, we step into a verse that quietly shatters a lifetime of assumptions. Because if you've ever said, "God is doing this to me," or "Fate is against me," or even, "I am the one holding everything together," then chapter 5, verse 14 is going to feel like a turning point. This is not just philosophy. It rearranges how you understand karma, free will, and destiny. And it begins by removing one ancient illusion: that there is someone up there making you act.
Yes, and Krishna does it with surgical clarity. He says, the divine is the source, but not the doer.
Creator, but not doer. Ankur, if that's true, then who is creating this "I did it" feeling?
That's exactly where 5.14 begins. It separates presence from doership. And once you see that, karma becomes clean, destiny becomes understandable, and free will finally finds its real place.
All right, let's enter the verse.
The Supreme does not create doership, nor actions, nor the connection between actions and their results. It is svabhāva, one's own nature, that operates.
So, God is not making me act?
No. And Krishna goes even further. He says, God is the creator, but not the doer. And that distinction is enormous. परमात्मा सृष्टा तो है, लेकिन करता नहीं है. The divine is the source from which life flows. But the divine does not sit somewhere deciding your anger, your ambition, your success. Because doership requires ego. And ego requires otherness. I exist only when there is a you. The divine has no opposite, no other. So the divine cannot say, I am doing. Doership belongs to limitation. Presence belongs to power. Now imagine a dancer. The dancer creates dance. But the dance is not separate. If the dancer stops, the dance disappears. If the dancer dies, the dance ends. Dance depends on the dancer. The dancer does not depend on the dance. The ocean can exist without waves, but a wave cannot exist without the ocean. They are one, and yet not identical. This is how divine and nature relate. The divine is like the dancer. Nature is the dance. But Krishna goes even deeper. The divine does not do. The divine is like a catalytic presence. Hydrogen and oxygen do not form water on their own. Introduce electricity, water forms. What did electricity do? Nothing. Its presence was sufficient. Without it, no reaction. Yet it never becomes part of the water. That is catalytic presence. The divine is not acting, the divine is present. In that presence, nature acts. Now bring this to karma. If God is not the doer and the self is not the ego-doer, then what performs action? Prakriti, nature, your svabhāva, your gunas, your conditioning, your accumulated karma. That is destiny. Destiny is not punishment. Destiny is pattern. Your current tendencies are the momentum of past actions. That is karma unfolding.
Ankur, you mentioned gunas. What exactly are they?
Gunas are the three fundamental qualities of nature: sattva, rajas, and tamas. They are not moral labels. They are energies. Sattva is clarity, balance, light. When sattva dominates, the mind becomes calm, thoughtful, steady. Rajas is activity, ambition, restlessness. When rajas dominates, there is drive, competition, movement. Tamas is inertia, resistance, confusion. When tamas dominates, there is dullness, procrastination, avoidance. These three are constantly shifting. They mix in different proportions. And that mixture becomes your svabhāva.
So destiny is not some external script. It is the dominance of certain gunas?
Yes, when rajas dominates, action happens. When tamas dominates, delay happens. When sattva dominates, clarity happens. Karma flows through these gunas. But awareness is beyond them.
So let's bring this into today. Imagine a CEO. Revenue drops. Investors panic. The board pressures him. He walks into the leadership meeting and says, "The market did this to us."
Yes, that's the most common sentence in corporate boardrooms.
But is it true?
The market is circumstance. Reaction is svabhāva. Two leaders face the same downturn. One reacts with panic. One responds with clarity. What changed? Not the market. Gunas.
So Rajas would panic?
Rajas reacts. Tamas freezes. Sattva sees. When Rajas dominates, there's blame. There's aggression. There's urgency without clarity. When Sattva dominates, there's assessment. There's responsibility. There's response instead of reaction.
So Krishna is saying, stop blaming the market.
He's saying something deeper. Stop blaming God. Stop blaming destiny. See your nature clearly.
Then where is freedom? If nature operates, are we trapped?
Freedom appears the moment you become aware. When anger arises unconsciously, karma continues. When anger is witnessed, karma weakens. Free will does not destroy nature instantly. Free will introduces awareness inside nature. That awareness is not part of the pattern. It is prior to the pattern.
Give me something practical. Let's say I get angry. What happens then?
Anger arises. That's Prakriti. Voice raises. Heartbeat increases. Heat builds. That's gunas moving.
And free will?
Free will is the pause. That half second before you speak. That awareness that says, I'm about to hurt someone.
So free will doesn't stop anger. It witnesses it?
Yes. And in witnessing, Rajas weakens. Sattva strengthens.
So destiny is momentum. And freedom is interruption.
Beautifully said. Destiny is accumulated reaction. Freedom is conscious response. Krishna is not denying nature. He is introducing awareness inside nature. In business, a leader says, the market forced me. Krishna would say, no. Nature reacted. Market is circumstance. Reaction is svabhāva. Two leaders face identical downturns. One innovates, one collapses. Same environment. Different inner architecture. That is karma. That is destiny. That is svabhāva unfolding. We say my company runs because of me. My family survives because of me. My effort keeps everything together. Krishna gently laughs. Look at the universe. Stars move. Seasons change. Oceans rise and fall. billions of systems operate without a visible doer. And you believe your shop cannot function without ego? This realization is the birth of Karma Yoga. Nature acts. You witness. Action continues, doership dissolves. Earlier Krishna said, I do nothing at all. Now he explains how that is possible. Doership belongs to nature. The self remains witness. And when this becomes experiential, you move from I act to nature acts in my presence. From I control to life unfolds. Today, leaders blame automation, AI, economic cycles. But AI is also Prakriti. It is part of the dance. The question is not, what is AI doing? The question is, what is your svabhāva doing in response? Technology is neutral. Response reveals maturity. If the divine is creator but not doer, nature performs action, karma shapes tendency, free will is awareness, then who are you? You are the witnessing presence, the one in whose awareness nature moves, the one who never acts, yet without whom nothing acts. That is the paradox.
Ankur, are you saying that I have never actually been the doer?
The ego feels like the doer, but feeling is not fact.
So when I say, I built this company, that's not fully true?
You participated. You expressed your svabhāva. You acted through gunas. But the sense of I alone did this, that is ego stitching a story.
That's unsettling.
Yes, because ego survives on authorship. When authorship softens, freedom begins.
So this verse isn't removing responsibility. It's removing arrogance.
Exactly. Leadership without arrogance. Action without ego. Power without self-illusion.
So destiny is accumulated nature, and freedom is awareness within nature.
Yes. And leadership begins the moment you stop claiming authorship.
Next time something triggers you, pause and ask, is this me or is this nature unfolding? That small shift is the doorway from karma to freedom. Ankur, next verse 15 feels unsettling. Krishna says, the Lord does not accept anyone's sin or virtue. That sounds almost impersonal. Let's hear it first.
The all-pervading Lord accepts neither the sin nor the virtue of anyone. Knowledge is covered by ignorance. Because of that, beings are deluded.
So Krishna is removing the idea of a judging God?
Yes, completely. He uses the word vibhu, the all-pervading reality, not a personality, not an emotional authority, not a cosmic accountant. Sin and virtue belong to the field of action. They belong to Prakriti, nature. They operate under law. If you touch fire, you burn. Not because God is angry, but because heat has a property. If you jump from a building, gravity acts. Not because God wants to punish you, but because gravity is law.
But karma gives results. So who gives those results?
Law gives results. Cause produces effect. Action produces consequence. That is karma. The Lord is the substratum. the existence because of which all this functions. But he is not choosing outcomes. Electricity allows a machine to run. But electricity does not decide what the machine manufactures. Now the second half of the verse is the key. Knowledge is covered by ignorance, not destroyed. Covered. Like clouds covering the sun. The sun is shining. But you say this, there is no sunlight. That is delusion. Imagine walking into a dim room. You see a rope on the floor. But because of insufficient light, you see a snake. Your heart races, your body reacts, fear feels real. But the snake never existed. Ignorance projected it. When light increases, the snake disappears. The rope remains. Knowledge does not create the rope. It only removes the illusion.
Where does this ignorance operate?
In the intellect, the buddhi. Both ignorance and knowledge function there. You cannot see rope and snake at the same time. When knowledge comes, ignorance drops. That is why Krishna says beings are deluded. Not because reality is broken, but because perception is distorted.
So when people say, God made this happen, what is that?
Projection. When knowledge is covered, you think, I am the body. I am the doer. God is rewarding or punishing me. But the Lord does not accept sin or virtue. Action belongs to nature. The doership belongs to ignorance. Take a very wise person, disciplined, ethical. Now he drinks excessively. What happens? His wisdom is covered, not erased. Covered. He behaves foolishly. Ignorance works the same way. Knowledge of the self is present, but covered by identification with body and mind. Imagine a cinema screen. On it, war, blood, flood, fire. Does the screen burn? No. Does it get wet? No. The screen remains untouched. Brahman is the screen. Sin and virtue belong to the movie. The Lord does not accept them. They do not stick to him.
If Brahman is untouched, who suffers?
The ego, the mistaken identity. When you believe you are only the body-mind complex, you inherit karma psychologically. But when knowledge dawns, the delusion ends.
This changes responsibility.
Completely. You cannot blame God. You cannot blame fate. You cannot blame destiny. Law operates. Nature operates. Tendencies operate. Awareness alone frees.
So the battle is not between good and bad. It is between ignorance and knowledge. When light comes, the snake disappears. The rope was always there.
Now, let's understand verse 16 in the simplest way possible. Krishna says,
When ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, knowledge shines like the sun and reveals the supreme reality.
Like the sun. So knowledge doesn't add something new?
yes, it doesn't add, it reveals. Just like sunlight doesn't create objects, it only shows what was already there.
But here's the confusing part. If knowledge is real, how does ignorance cover it?
That is the mystery of this world. Because here, darkness, something that doesn't truly exist, seems to cover light, which does exist. And death, something that is not ultimately real, seems to deceive life, which is real.
So darkness isn't a thing.
Exactly. Darkness has no independent existence. You can't bring darkness and pour it into a room. When you want darkness, you simply switch off the light. And when you want darkness to disappear, you don't push darkness out. You turn the light on. Darkness is only the absence of light. It feels powerful, but it has no substance.
And Krishna is saying ignorance is like that?
Yes, self-knowledge exists. Ignorance doesn't exist as a real thing. Yet it feels real because knowledge is asleep.
Asleep?
Yes, self is knowledge by nature. It cannot be truly ignorant, just like a lit flame cannot be dark. So what we call self-ignorance is not a real entity. It's only a sleeping state. Imagine a matchstick in your pocket. It has the full capacity to become flame. But until it's lit, the room remains dark. When the match ignites, darkness doesn't fight back. It simply collapses. And the light that appears was not imported from outside. It was already inside the match. And awakening isn't gaining something new. It's uncovering what was already there. Verse 16 is exactly that. Knowledge reveals the supreme, like sunlight reveals the world.
But if ignorance is not real, why does it win?
Because sleep makes even the greatest power helpless. A strong person asleep can be defeated by something tiny. An elephant asleep can be harmed by a small insect. It's not that the insect is powerful. It's that the elephant is asleep. Same here. The self is vast. But when awareness is asleep, small forces like anger, craving, fear seem to dominate. Liberation is waking up. That's why the word Buddha means the awakened one. Awakening is victory. Sleep is defeat.
Okay. Then how do we wake up?
Krishna's principle is simple. If you want to remove darkness, don't fight darkness. Increase light. And to increase light, these three things matter. First, will. Without will, the inner lamp won't ignite. Because most people live by public opinion. What will people say? That fear steals will. Will means doing what feels true inside, even if the crowd disapproves. What you know is right, do it. What you know is wrong, don't do it, even if the whole world pushes you. Second, courage. Not the courage to fight someone, but the courage to enter the unknown. Because the self is unknown territory. No map, no companion. Courage means the ability to be alone inside. Third, conservation of energy. Most people leak energy all day. In anger, gossip, cravings, distractions. And then they sit for meditation and fall asleep because there's no energy left. Inner awakening also needs strength. Stop wasting energy on the smallest things, and the lamp begins to burn brighter.
So verse 16 is not asking me to fight ignorance. It's asking me to light knowledge. When ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, knowledge shines like the sun and reveals the supreme reality. So if ignorance is darkness and knowledge is light, what does this mean for someone leading a company, a team, a nation?
It means most leadership crises are not operational, they are perceptual. Leaders don't suffer because reality is broken. They suffer because perception is clouded. In leadership, darkness appears as fear of losing position, insecurity masked as aggression, ego disguised as authority, overreaction to criticism, attachment to image. These are not real forces, they are ignorance.
So, when a leader panics during market volatility, the volatility is not the problem?
No, the panic is. The market is neutral. The reaction reveals the inner state. When clarity comes, you see the market is fluctuating. The team is stressed. The competitor is strong. But you no longer say, I am failing. I am collapsing. I am threatened. You see the event. You do not become the event. That is verse 16 in leadership.
So, awakening means emotional maturity?
Deeper than maturity. It is identity shift. A reactive leader says, my company is struggling, I am a failure. An awakened leader says, the company is facing a challenge, let's respond wisely. Same situation, different light. Remember what we discussed. Even a strong elephant loses to a small insect when asleep. In leadership, even a powerful CEO can be defeated by a small comment if ego is asleep in ignorance. Strength without awareness collapses. Awareness transforms weakness into power. A leader must decide what is true for me, what is aligned with integrity, not what will people say, what will social media think. Public opinion cannot become your compass. Courage in leadership is not loudness. It is taking unpopular decisions, entering unknown markets, admitting mistakes, standing alone when required. Most leaders burn energy in political games, endless comparison, reputation management, emotional reactivity, and then wonder why strategic clarity fades. Inner light requires conserved energy. If you waste psychological fuel all day, clarity dims.
In the AI age, where everything moves fast, does this teaching become more important?
More than ever, technology increases speed. It does not increase clarity. Algorithms optimize. They do not awaken. If the leader is inwardly dark, AI will amplify confusion. If the leader is inwardly clear, AI becomes a powerful tool. Verse 16 is not anti-technology. It is pro-awareness. Ignorance in leadership says, I must control everything. Knowledge says, I must understand clearly. Ignorance says, if this fails, I collapse. Knowledge says, failure is an event. I am awareness responding. Ignorance clings. Knowledge observes. Ignorance reacts. Knowledge acts. Verse 16 teaches, you don't fix leadership by fighting problems. You fix leadership by increasing clarity. You don't eliminate darkness by arguing with it. You switch on light. And when light comes, you don't become extraordinary. You become aligned.
Ankur, verse 17 feels different. It feels final.
It is. This is where Krishna describes the point of no return.
Those whose intellect is fixed in that, whose identity is one with that, who are established in that, who take that as their supreme goal, they reach a state of no return.
Does this mean no rebirth?
Not merely that. It means no return to ignorance. It means Once the ego dissolves into truth, there is no falling back into darkness.
But many people say they've had spiritual experiences. Are those the same?
No. And this is where seekers get confused. There is a difference between a glimpse and oneness. A glimpse is like lightning in a dark sky. For a second, everything becomes visible, then darkness returns. And sometimes, after lightning, darkness feels even denser.
Because the eyes were dazzled?
Yes, the ego gets dazzled too. Imagine jumping high off the ground. For one moment you escape gravity, but only for a moment. Then gravity pulls you back. A glimpse is like that. You momentarily feel beyond conditioning, but conditioning pulls you back. Glimpses are beautiful, but risky, because in a glimpse, you are still present. You say later, I experienced the divine. The emphasis is on I.
So ego survives the glimpse.
Not only survives, it grows stronger. I have seen, I have realized, I know, and the darkness becomes subtler.
Then what is true oneness?
Tadrupata means becoming that. It is not knowing God. It is dissolving into that. Your small flame, merging into the sun. Your small musical note, merging into the cosmic sound. In a glimpse, you remain. In oneness, you disappear. Kabir said something profound. When I was searching, I did not find him because I was there. When I disappeared, he was.
So I and the divine never truly stand face to face.
They cannot. If the ego stands fully before truth, it collapses. This is why Krishna says, no return. Because who will return? The one who could return is gone. Liberation is not freedom for the ego. It is freedom from the ego.
So moksha isn't I will be happy forever.
If I remains, suffering remains. All suffering belongs to the ego. Have you ever suffered without I being involved? If I survives, pain survives. There's a beautiful parable. At heaven's gate, a proud scholar was welcomed with music. A humble man entered quietly. The gatekeeper said, humble ones come daily. But ego-driven scholars are rare. Humility dissolves ego. Knowledge without humility strengthens ego. Have you ever watched wood burn in fire? It resists at first, then it catches, then it becomes fire. The wood does not remain wood. Ego must enter that fire and consent to burn.
So this is the real meaning of no return.
When the ego dissolves into reality, there is no one left to fall back into darkness. Before that moment, life is noise. After that moment, life becomes music. Until the ego dissolves, birth and death continue psychologically, coming and going, rising and falling, hope and despair. But when oneness happens, the journey ends. And that's the real victory, not freedom of the I, freedom from the I.
Encore. How does this look in a modern battlefield? Because ego dissolving into the absolute feels far from boardrooms.
It is closer than we think. Imagine a CEO. She attends a leadership retreat. In silence, in nature, something shifts. For a moment, she feels clarity. She feels connected. She feels free from fear. She returns and says, I've transformed. But within weeks, market volatility hits. A competitor undercuts pricing. Board pressure increases. The old anxiety returns. That was a glimpse, like lightning in darkness. The experience was real, but identity did not dissolve. Ego absorbed the experience. I had an awakening and strengthened itself.
So gravity pulled her back?
Yes, years of identity. I am my role. I must protect my image. I must win. That gravity is powerful. A single retreat cannot dissolve it. Now imagine a different transformation. Not experience, not inspiration, but deep internal shift. This leader sees clearly. I am not my title. I am not my valuation. I am not the applause. There is calm clarity. A crisis hits, revenue drops 30%. The board panics, media questions competence, and something remarkable happens. He does not collapse. He does not inflate. He responds. That is the difference between glimpse and oneness. In glimpse, identity returns. In oneness, identity has shifted. In ego-driven leadership, success inflates, failure devastates, praise intoxicates, criticism wounds deeply. Because I is central. In ego-light leadership, success is acknowledged, failure is analyzed, praise passes through, criticism is evaluated, no collapse, no inflation.
So what is the fire here?
Humility, the willingness to let image burn, pride burn, attachment to control burn. When ego enters that fire willingly, clarity remains. There comes a moment in mature leadership when you no longer lead to prove yourself. You no longer defend identity. You no longer fear exposure. You lead because it is your dharma. And something shifts permanently. Even if you lose position, you do not lose yourself. That is no return. You cannot go back to insecure leadership because the insecure identity is gone.
So the leader who dissolves ego does not become weak?
No, he becomes unshakable. Because what could be shaken was ego, and that has already burned. That is verse 17 on the modern battlefield. Not mystical, not abstract. It is the transition from identity-driven leadership to dharma-driven leadership.
So today, Krishna didn't take responsibility away from us. He took the blame away. He said the divine is the source, but not the doer. And that means no one is sitting in the sky pushing your buttons.
Yes, doership belongs to svabhāva. Action flows through gunas. Results arrive through law. And freedom begins the moment you stop claiming authorship and start bringing awareness.
So destiny is not a punishment. It's a pattern. And free will is not controlling life. It's becoming conscious inside life.
Yes, when you witness anger, anger weakens. When you witness fear, fear loosens. And when you witness the I am doing, karma yoga is born.
Before we go, take one moment today to catch yourself claiming doership. When you say, I had to react, I had to prove, I had to control. Just ask, was it me? Or was it svabhāva unfolding? And don't try to fix it instantly. Just see it. That seeing is the beginning of freedom. If this made you pause, share it with someone who keeps carrying guilt or someone who keeps blaming fate. Subscribe to Beyond the Battlefield and write to us at beyondthebattlefield@outlook.in. And don't forget to check the GPT companion link in the description.